Hello, and a very warm welcome to you. Today, I've got a very special guest, Richard McCann of Friday's Media Group, based in Milton Keynes. Richard has a tremendous amount of experience in PR for small businesses, and he's going to share some amazing tips with us today. Hello, Richard. How are you? And a very warm welcome to the Hangout.
Hello, I lost you for a moment, but hopefully I'm back in the room now. Am I? Thanks, Oz. Hi, I'm
How are you
Richard.
keeping?
Oh, very good, thank you. Enjoying this lovely weather.
Good, good. So we're gonna have a few questions for you with regards to PR and how can small businesses leverage this powerful tool?
Okay, let's see what I can do. Well, first of all, then let's define what PR is. There are a lot of long academic definitions of what PR is, but I remember someone describing it to me best in a joke, and I've never forgotten it. And they said to me, Richard, you're in a bar and you see a very attractive woman. Now, you could walk straight up to her and you could say, hey, I'm a great lover. That's advertising. It's direct, not very subtle, but it could just work. Or try marketing. This time you tell your friend, you say, hey, advertising didn't work too well. You go tell her. So your friend goes up and he says, you see that guy over there? He's a great lover. That is direct marketing. But the ultimate is when the person you're trying to attract sees you and they come over and they say, hey, I've heard you're a great lover. That's PR. Never forgotten that definition. And and a lot of people think that PR is a fairly recent phenomenon. That we hear about the spin doctor and the elections. In fact, PR became a recognized profession around about 1900. And in fact, going back, it was credited as massively influential during the movement to abolish slavery in England, with one of the movement's PR men back in the 1780s being William Cooper, the poet from Oney here in Milton Keynes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Oh,
PR goes back a long way.
long way. Cool. So, how can someone who has got no experience of writing press releases, what advice and tips would you give them on how to write a great PR piece?
Okay, Oz. Well, it's a big topic, and I've
Yeah.
devoted my career to it. But so I'll give it 5 minutes and see what I can do. The first thing I would say to anyone, just as I say to myself or to a client, is what do you have to work with? So first of all, what's the hook? So someone might say to me, well, we've got some great new offices. So there's the start of a story. Well, that's interesting to you, but it's not very interesting to everybody else. So I say, well, why have you got great new offices? Well, we've taken on a new client, quite a few new clients. We've taken on a lot more staff, so we had to have new offices. Okay, it's getting a bit more interesting now. Why have you taken on a lot more staff? Why have you got lots more clients? Well, because we've got a new product and everybody wants it. Now we have the start of a story. It's not the offices, it's the product, it's the success, it's the new clients. The offices don't really matter. The next thing is, what images have you got? Make sure you've got some good images, because a lot of editors will use the images and the story will come along after that. The next thing will be quotes. Ideally, you want some lovely things that your customers are saying rather than you saying how great you are. If you've got some case studies, did a job with a client the other day, and it was how much electricity they were saving ASDA by monitoring all of their chillers. Great case study with some good figures. And when it went into the magazine, Sainsbury's got in touch with the client and said, can you do the same for me? So a good case study brings it to life. And probably the final thing there would be a survey. If you have a good survey that you have conducted, and they can be done very easily, very cheaply, then you tend to grab the attention of the editor. Then if you move on a bit, you're selling this story. How can I sell it? Well, the first thing is you're selling it to the journalist. So what's their life like? These are people who get 500 or 1,000 emails a day.
Wow.
They typically give each email 5 to 9 seconds consideration, and they're on a lot of deadlines. they're making phone calls, they're getting phone calls, they have to go to events, they've got pressure from the ad sales people to write about certain things, and they're trying to get the best content for their readers. So, and if they're online journalists, then they've got to do probably the monthly or the weekly magazine, plus they have to do a news roundup, sometimes at the end of the day, sometimes twice a day. So think of them and keep your pitch very tight. Common mistakes would be starting off with, we are delighted to announce. They hate that. They hate cliches. They hate things like, we are growing both organically and by acquisition. One journalist said to me, if I read that one more time, I will scream. You lose the main story. Another one is, if you take one press release and you send it out to lots of different sectors, it's like sending out some material to make some clothes and saying, I can't be bothered to find out who you are, what you like, I'll just send it out, you can make it for you. Or a little bit like the chef sending you the ingredients and saying, I'm not going to make the meal, do it yourself. So I'll come back to that in a minute. But then you've got to think, how do I write the release? Now, first of all, the release isn't a book, it's a movie trailer, it's not the whole movie, so it doesn't last a long time. It's got to be 60 seconds to grab your attention. So think of it as a movie trailer. Get all the information that you've got, and I'll tell you a good tip for anybody who wants to see if they've missed anything. We use something, it's what we're taught, and I still use it today, the 5 W's. So you write down who, where, what, why, and when, and you gather that information, and there's your story. Then the next thing is you get your subject line and your headline. So if you're sending out an email, think about those 1,000 emails that are going out to that journalist. The headline in the subject box is not news from Acme Corporation, because you've lost your biggest opportunity. The headline is clickbait. So it has to be something exciting that they want to know more. So if it's company saves Asda save 53% on their energy use. Find out how. There's your clickbait, not news from so-and-so company. If it's local, some people, if they're in Leighton Buzzard, they put local company wins new client. Who's local? Put if it matters, put Leighton Buzzard company. Yeah, because otherwise you may be in Bedford, it's not local to you.
Yeah.
And probably another tip, and it's hard to say over a chat line like this, but how to write the quote. Some people write the story, then they write some quotes. Consequently, the quotes are rubbish. Don't bother about writing the quotes. Write the story and then think, I could use that bit as a quote. I could use this bit as a quote. So you could actually turn the copy into a quote. And then also it's much harder to cut it out for a journalist, because it actually continues the story. So if it says, company has won 15 new clients in the last month, you can say, we have won 15 new clients in the last month, says Oz, managing director. And that's how you turn it into a quote. Otherwise, people put rubbishy quotes up, and that's why.
Thank you. Now, great tips. Now, going back to the images, now, whether you are making products or if it's for your personnel,
yes,
you would highly recommend that you get some professional images done by a studio or by some photographer, and not use your iPhone or a smartphone to take a selfie and then send it across.
Yeah, do you know, that's so true that it amazes me how I'll sometimes have the managing director of a multinational company, and I'll say, good, the magazine or the website, they're going to run a feature on you and they want a photograph of you to illustrate it. Fantastic. Just to show how professional you are. Ideally, maybe with the installation, with the product, bring it to life in your reception with your logo. Do you know what one of them did to me the other day? He sent a photograph that his wife had taken of him in his bedroom.
No.
sitting on the bed. And you can't send that in. And this is a guy from a public company with offices all around the world. And I said, you need something a bit better than that.
Yeah.
Another tip is sometimes people take a picture of the product. Say it's a thermometer, a digital thermometer, and they have a picture of it with a white background. That's nice for a brochure, but the magazine will want a photograph of someone actually using it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that, so that's probably a good tip. It seems obvious to me, but it's not always obvious.
Thank you. Now, with regards to press releases being printed, obviously they're printed in printed materials as well as published online.
Yes.
And there's so many places where you need to spread your word.
Oh yeah.
What's the best tip, and how quickly with the least amount of money you can get the maximum bang for your bucks?
Right. Well, the first thing is to decide where your audience is. So it might be printed magazines, it might be e-zines, it might be bloggers if they have a lot of people reading. And anyway, it works on SEO. You know far more about that than I ever will. It might be broadcasters. So do some research and find out. I mean, it's easy for me because I have access to all of that. We subscribe to those things. So I just plug it in and boom, up come 1,200 titles around the world. I sort it out on circulation, location, and so on. But if you're doing it for nothing, you probably know your market. So therefore, work out which titles. Now, here's probably the tip. You need to make it relevant. So I had a client the other day, and they had a couple of £1 million in funding. So they said, right, this is a good story. We'll do this and we'll send it out to everybody. And I said, well, the £2 million in funding is a very good business and city story, so that's fine. But who are your best clients and who are you trying to attract? And they said, well, HR, automotive, cleaning, education. I said, fine. You obviously send out a different press release to each of those subjects. They said, well, no, can't we send the same one out? No, absolutely not, because each one of those editors wants something that looks bespoke to them. You don't have to change very much, Oz, but you can change the start. So if it's for titles that are in cleaning or education, get the word cleaning, get the word education right up the front, because the journalist will think in the 5 seconds that they're giving, I'll read that, that's relevant to me. So check that out, see which titles, put education magazines, Google it, see what comes up, go online, find out. And then also, it doesn't have to be a press release. See what they're writing about, and you can say, dear editor, I saw you were writing about staff shortages in education. Here is something that we're doing that's proving very popular. The editor will say, you read my stuff, this is relevant to me. And essentially, some people say to me, oh yeah, but that takes time. I can send out 50 or 100 press releases all the same in minutes. Yeah, but no one's going to publish them. I would rather take an hour and get 10 published. So that's the good thing. And I think also when you get the coverage, don't leave it at that. If you get, I had a client that's just opened an office in New York last week, and I managed to get an article placed in, I'll just look at what it's called actually, Corporate America it's called. So it's read by 254,000 American CEOs. So I said, great, but don't sit back and say, that's marvelous, we'll get a copy and put it on reception. Blog it, take a photograph of it and put it on Twitter, get a link to the article and put it on Twitter, get it out in your newsletters, put a link to the article in your email signatures and say to anyone you're writing to, did you see us in this week's Corporate America? Your existing clients will love that. And then incorporate it into pitches, because if there are articles about you, it's third-party coverage, which people are always going to accept. So they're good tips. Once you have it, leverage it, make it sweet for you.
Repurpose and leverage as many outlets and places where you can go. No, brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company. do you only deal with big clients, or do you also work with small to medium-sized
No,
businesses as well?
large and small. I tend to think of ourselves as a taxi, and I say to people, a long journey costs a lot of money, and a short journey doesn't cost very much at all, because all we have to sell is our time and our expertise. So therefore, that's what we do. So it might be that we're doing a launch of a new Bentley, or we're doing something for Shell, but it might be that we're launching some vodka for a company from the States. It might be a little security company that want to publicize the fact that they're doing some work for a local council, and they're doing something different, and that might be a little £500 contract. I'm just as happy to do those. I enjoy those. It's really, to me, whether there's the interaction with the people that I'm working with, that becomes fun, and you can do some good work for them. So it doesn't have to be just big clients at all.
Good. And how can anyone reach out to you?
People can contact me at fridays-group.com, and they can find me on LinkedIn as well as Richard McCann. And I'm a little bit of a gamekeeper turned poacher, because I was corporate comms director for a number of big PLCs. So I used to employ PRs. And so I've heard all the excuses, I've heard all the waffle. And so when I retired from that and was asked to switch over to become a PR, and I joined an agency some years ago, I brought my customer ethics and ethos to it, and it means that I tend to see things from the customer's point of view, because that's what I was once upon a time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, your tips,
it's a huge,
sharing your know-how and your expertise.
It's a huge pleasure. I don't know whether it will amuse you at the end of a hard day, but we were talking about headlines and grabbing headlines, and I love to see headlines. So I've just have 2 or 3 headlines that I've seen just recently that made me laugh. There was one in the Guardian the other day. There's a Crystal Palace footballer called Jerry Queen, and he was sent off for fighting, got a red card, and the headline in the Guardian was "Queen in brawl at Palace." There was a lovely one in a paper in Cambridge at the weekend, which said "Dead man was unfit to drive." There was a child that was kidnapped and then discovered in a town in Kent, and the headline was "Missing baby found in sandwich."
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
I have one final one for you, which was a gentleman who was handicapped, and he was helped a lot by people in his community, and the headline was "One-armed man applauds generosity of strangers."
I think we'll leave some for the next time. I'm sure you've got loads of fantastic headlines to share with us.
Bless you.
Thank you ever so much. I'm
been
going to
a
let you
pleasure.
go. Enjoy the weather.
You too.
And we'll catch up soon sometime.
Thanks
Thank you, everyone, for watching in.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
everyone.
Richard. And take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye, Oz. Thank you.